we've got to the stage where you've done enough physics in the lectures to actually start on some of the experimental kind of / computer labs. So in the past these have been physical labs because of the restrictions. We're doing everything online at the moment. So this is just a brief introduction to the system. The experimental computer labs contribute 30% of the total mark of the module. They'll be done in groups of 4 students. I put everybody in groups, and there's a list of groups on the DLE I'll show you later. The submission will be via the DLE, and there'll be a single deadline for all the computer experiments. So they're meant to sort of complement the kind of lecture material and also start to build up a little techniques of analysis of physics a little bit. So you're working in groups of 4. I've put you in a group. I mean, the first thing to do is contact your group members. So I have a page here, which I'll show you in a bit, which has some software for working in groups virtually. A good solution is Microsoft Teams. Since you're all going to be engineers, you're going to be using these kind of virtual tools to collaborate anyway, so it's worthwhile getting to learn these now. I mean, you can use things like WhatsApp, but for the kind of computer labs, it's important to be able to share documents as well, so you may as well use something like Microsoft Teams, but I don't want to enforce that. Okay, so this is a group work project, so you have to contact your other group members. Unfortunately, in the past, some students won't answer email, or perhaps they've left the university, so some people in your group you may not be able to contact. So please make every effort to do that. But when you fill in the forms, you only have to include the people who actually contributed to the work. And I should say, if there's any dispute about this, I would just look, if one person said they contributed and they weren't put on the group list, I'll just look for some evidence that they contributed. So make sure there's a paper trail. So if you did a work on a project, make sure there's some email, or you have a screenshot of a Microsoft Teams message area, just to show that you actually contributed to the teams. And part of the goals of the module is to actually demonstrate the ability to work effectively in small groups. Okay, so the course will be based on a variety of simulations. So one of the simulations, the first one we'll do this week, will be measurements, and there's a little kind of computer simulation. There's links on the worksheet, so you can bring in a scale. Okay, so that's the scale. And there's a little problem, you can bring in metal and do measurements. And then the idea is just to find out what the density of the material is, of the metal, and then hence identify the metal. And so there's a little kind of computer simulation which kind of models quite closely what you do in the lab. There's another simulation in this week's sheet. So I should say, so the second part, which is worth a small amount of marks, has a system like that. I want you to go on this page and then click on this button here, and then split the thing off into 2 squares. And there's just a little measurement project, which is just to help you really understand this thing about centimeters versus centimeters squared. So actually, on the DLE, there's a little problem sheet here where you put in your names, the names of the people in the group, student ID. Then there's a little problem. Here's the name of the web app, and then there's a little table you fill in, and so you fill in the 3 question marks, and then here in this question I also ask you to explain just basically how you fill in, how you calculated 1 row. There's a little text box for that, and then the other question also involves filling in a table. And it depends on the simulation, but this first submission is just for 10 marks. Okay, let's go back to the thing. So at the moment I'm planning on running 5 simulations. So there'll be the measurement project this week, a video analysis project for 20 marks, optics, pressure, and then a mobile phone project in December. And so these all add up to 70, and then they'll be scaled, so full marks is 30% of the module. And typically, when we used to run all these things in the lab, typically with 4 people, you should be able to do these things in roughly an hour. They're not meant to be. They're not meant to be things that take days and days. They're meant to be fairly short. Okay. Okay. So coming back to things. So on the DLE, there'll be this information here. Here's the list of groups, and here you'll find, I don't want to put this in the video, you'll find your name and your email, and everybody's been putting groups in this list of groups for practicals. There's a site on resources for working in groups, which is here. So if you see here, I've collected together some links and information on how to work well in different teams. And there's some issue about using Zoom, Google, and the one that I'm using mostly for supervision is Microsoft Teams. And then here you can find the simulations, the submission area on the DLE, which is here, and then the Excel sheet is here. Okay, and then next week we'll release another simulation to be done. And as I say, this is all done with one single deadline, so there'll be 5 little projects, and the deadline for all the experimental lab coursework will be 17th of December.